afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. Today we're talking about 2 holiday traditions for the whole family. Later in our program, we'll cut a Christmas tree with the help of a whole team, of horses we should say, with a visit to the Russel Farm in Starksboro. The Russel family has been providing families with memories to last a lifetime. They offer fresh and pre-cut Christmas trees, and if you act now, you can sign up to take a horse-drawn sleigh to get you and your family to choose and cut a tree. And first, we're going to talk to the current stewards of a long-standing Vermont tradition in central Vermont. The lights at Joseph Smith's birthplace draw tens of thousands of visitors for this annual event. For the last several months, volunteers have been stringing up the lights and getting ready to welcome visitors. Joining me to talk about this event that's been going on since the late 80s is President Larry Nielsen and Sister Kristen Nielsen, site leaders of the Joseph Smith birthplace in Sharon and South Royalton. Welcome to Across the Fence.
Thank you.
And welcome to Vermont, I should say. This is your first year here.
It is.
And how have you liked it so far?
We've liked it. We got here in February and we made it through winter, and we love spring, summer, and fall. It has not disappointed us, and we're looking forward to seeing more of the state.
Sure, are you buckling down for winter a little bit?
Yeah. We're enjoying the rest of fall.
Right, yeah, you got nothing to hide here. And your time at Joseph Smith Memorial Birthplace is referred to by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a mission. So what does that mean? What are you doing here?
Well, you probably know that our church is really known as a missionary church. There's over 70,000 young missionaries that go out. You see the young men with white shirts and ties and the young women that are serving. There's also 27,000 more seasoned missionaries like us that are serving around the world in a variety of capacities. Our capacity is to serve at a historic site, so we're responsible for the Joseph Smith birthplace for 2 years, and we serve with 4 other missionary couples there.
Great, and you actually mentioned younger people who are participating, and this isn't your first rodeo on a mission now, is that right?
Yeah, we've served another mission as a couple. We served in the St. George, Utah, Southern Utah Historic Sites mission. And then I also served as a missionary when I was 19 years old in Montreal in Quebec.
Wow, so it must be nice to be back on the East Coast.
It is.
And had either of you visited this birthplace or Vermont even before coming?
I had never been to Vermont, and neither of us had been to the birthplace before, so we were excited that we were going to get to see this part of the country that's so rich in history, and being from the West Coast, we don't have quite as much history as we do in the East Coast.
And you were telling me you haven't had the chance to travel too much of Vermont, but you've gotten to see a good bit?
We have. I mean, it's all gorgeous. You can see why so many people come here for vacations. And
that's great. That's what we love to hear. And last year at this time, we spoke with your predecessors, and they told us over 200,000 lights. Have you increased that amount at all this year?
You know, I think they increase it a little bit every year, cover a few more trees or a few more lights on the buildings and stuff, but it's about the same. They started putting them up in September, and they just are about done with the outside lights. Now we'll start the decoration inside the visitor center and other parts on the property.
So other than maybe adding a tree or two, does the presentation change from year to year?
No, I think it's pretty much the same. We haven't seen it
except
on video, and it seems like it's beautiful on video, so we're anxious to participate in it for real.
All right, absolutely. And actually, we get to take a look. Christmas is referred to as the giving season, and this year at the Joseph Smith birthplace, visitors can make the holidays brighter for someone in need through a giving machine. Here's a short video courtesy of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And if you're just joining us, we're visiting with President and Sister Nielsen, who manage the Joseph Smith birthplace in South Royalton as they gear up to welcome tens of thousands of visitors to take in their annual Christmas light display. And this event's free and open to the public, is that right?
That's right, so feel free to come as many times as you would like during the season.
All right, and tell me a little bit about the hours.
The hours are, so on November 29th, we have our lighting ceremony, which is at 7 p.m. And then from that night on, it will be on from dusk until 9 o'clock until December 31st.
Great, so you got a whole month to take it in.
Yes, exactly.
And tell me a little bit more about the lighting ceremony. What does that look like?
It'll be a relatively short ceremony, but we'll sing a couple Christmas hymns. We have a speaker that's coming. One of the general authorities of our church is coming. And we also have some of the nonprofits, representatives from the nonprofits that are participating in the giving machine, coming to talk and tell a little bit about their nonprofit.
Great, yeah, so people can learn more and start participating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so historically, Joseph Smith was only a child when he was living in Vermont, but what's the historical significance of the birthplace to the church?
You know, it's pretty significant. We believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet. We believe that he was the founder of our church, and we believe he restored the gospel of Jesus Christ to the earth. So it's a very important place for us. But the church has about 20 different historic sites across the country, from Vermont to San Diego. And so we have missionaries at all of those sites that are all parts of our church history. And just like we do at the Joseph Smith birthplace.
And he was born on December 23rd of 1805, and do you folks celebrate anything specifically for that date?
Well, we would like to, but we will be working that day, of course. And so we, at the birthplace, feel like we celebrate his birthday every single day because we get to tell that story. And then, just like all of the rest of Christianity, we're kind of focused on the birth of Jesus Christ at this time of year also.
Absolutely, yeah, a couple days after that.
Exactly, just the timing, right?
All right, and how much longer are you folks in Vermont for your mission?
We're here until February 2026.
All right, and I have to ask, is there anything on your bucket list before you move back to, I believe it's Washington where you're from? Anything you want to do in Vermont?
You know, we've had other missionaries before us, and they've given us lists of things that we have to see. And so we asked a couple that was here a few months ago to give us the top 5 covered bridges, the top 5 waterfalls, so we have a full list of places to go and
homework.
Things to see.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right, you have to visit the Northeast Kingdom where I'm from.
Oh, yes.
So
Okay.
yeah, if you do, send it right into Across the Fence. I'd love to hear about it.
We'll send photos.
Oh, please. All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And the lights at Joseph Smith's birthplace begin tonight, Friday, November 29th, and run until December 31st. And as you heard, it's open and free to the public. We'd like to close out today's program with a visit to the Russel Farm in Starksboro. There's nothing quite like going to a tree farm to choose and cut your Christmas tree. But what if you took a horse-drawn sleigh to get there? Keith Silva went over the river and through the woods to bring us this story.
Well, David, a little bit of rain can't dampen a visit to a Christmas tree farm.
No, it's a short time at the farm, and you got a nice tree to take home with you.
David Russell and his family own and operate the Russell Christmas Tree Farm in Starksboro. They sell pre-cut trees, or you can do it yourself, with a little help. But we'll get to that in a moment. What does it take to be a Christmas tree grower?
You can't expect instant gratification because it's minimum 7 years before you sell a tree, and more like 10 before you sell very many. I tell people 7 to 10 years is the cycle. You gotta want to do it. I think a lot of people start out and then they get tired because there's no results. I would say the slow time with Christmas trees is from January through April. We plant first part of May, we start planting, and then you fertilize, and then you start mowing grass, and you've got to go through and maybe do some corrective pruning. Most of the pruning starts the 1st of July. Right after 4th of July we start.
Go, Daddy, go!
Why cut your own Christmas tree?
I tell people if they want a perfect tree, go to Sears. You know, my trees, God grows them and I shear them, and they're the best we can do. But we have challenges with deer eating the trees, and we had somebody that wanted a real short tree. I said, well, look for one that's really damaged, but it's good at the top. And they found one the deer had really whittled, but on the top, it was fine.
What makes a good Christmas tree?
Every Christmas tree grower will grow a different tree, just their style. I like to think that we trim kind of lightly. I don't like a real dense tree, and so I like a tree that you can put an ornament on. I guarantee my trees are not perfect, and I have a critical eye. I see the imperfections in them, and people cut their own, and they'll cut a tree that I would be embarrassed to have, but they selected the one they wanted.
To be successful in agriculture, many farmers need to be diversified. And here at the Russell Christmas Tree Farm, they have a very unique way of helping you cut your Christmas tree.
came first, the horses or the trees?
And I grew up with horses, and we didn't have much. We used to get our firewood out with the horses, but there's not a lot of other things you can do with the horses to justify feeding them all year long. So we love having horses around.
When David hands over the reins to his grandson Brandon to help drive the team, you'll find David at the top of the barn, making garland. His brother Howard is often up there too, helping make wreaths.
Just trying to do what we're able to do with the product we have and generate some more money with it, and people are looking for it, so I try to fill the need.
That do-it-yourself approach helps define this agricultural business. Russell hopes his can-do approach extends to his customers, who, like him, want to build Christmas traditions and memories.
I still remember cutting a Christmas tree with my dad, and I think we're losing traditions for families, and I want to give them a tradition that their kids will remember, And so that's where I get my satisfaction out of people that appreciate that and come and shake my hand and thank me for doing it, because they're here with their family and they want to keep that tradition going.
In Starksboro, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Thanks, Keith. That really slayed. I want to thank the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX who make our programs possible. I'm Jolie Whitney. Have a good one.